President Trump got some zingers in. He did hit some points that were substantive, and I think you'll be able to break out and put in some campaign commercials. The first one was framing the strongest issue for Democrats, health care. That's the one they always come back to, even when health care has absolutely nothing to do with the election or the issues at hand. So what President Trump did was flip it and show how a Joe Biden presidency would destroy American health care.
What I proposed is that we expand Obamacare and we increase it. We do not wipe any. And one of the big debates we had with 23 of my colleagues trying to win the nomination that I won were saying that Biden wanted to allow people to have private insurance still. They can. They do. They will under my proposal.
It's not what you've said, and it's not what your party has said.
That is simply
your party
a lie.
Doesn't say it. Your party wants to go socialist medicine.
My party is
and
me.
Socialist
right
healthcare.
now, I am
and
the
they're going to dominate
party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now.
Your party wants socialist medicine and socialist health care, and they're going to dominate you, Joe. You know that. This was a very smart framing here, which is not to say Joe Biden is a radical. He's a far leftist. He's a socialist, because nobody believes that. Joe Biden's been in office since before Karl Marx was born. Joe Biden's been around a long time. He's positioned himself at various times as a moderate, and at other times he's moved further to the left. So that wouldn't be persuasive. But what we do know, what is undeniable, is that Joe Biden is weak. He's a weak front runner. He's a weak leader of his party. He's a weak presidential nominee. And he will be swayed and dominated by other members of the party. Actually, when that communist woman, Angela Davis, this awful far-left woman, who is very influential in the Democratic Party, when she endorsed Joe Biden, she said, I'm endorsing Joe Biden not because I think he's a radical, but because I think that we can bully him into doing what we want. Same thing is true of Bob Avakian, the head of the Revolutionary Communist Party in America. He said, yeah, I'm going to endorse Joe Biden because we're going to be able to bully him. So that was the point Trump picked up on. That, I think, is persuasive, because people who still have horrible memories of Obamacare, losing their doctor, premiums going up, they're going to remember, oh, wait a second. Joe Biden's now promising more socialist health care. Joe Biden was in part responsible for the Obamacare mess. I don't think I want any part of that. That was a good zinger. Trump also got in one line, they clearly had written it out and rehearsed it, about Joe Biden's pie-in-the-sky promises and the likelihood that they're actually going to come true.
He says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who, in fact, need the help. People out there need help.
But why didn't you do it over the last 25 years?
Because you weren't president screwing things up.
You were a senator. And
You're the worst president America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
let me just tell you, Joe, I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe.
Oh, that's a good line. That is, some of these scripted lines are not that good, and they kind of go over as groaners, which Joe Biden had one of those later in the debate. He said, you say it's the art of the deal. You do the art of the steal. Oh, please clap, please. It was like so lame, but that's a good line. I've done more in 47 months than you've done in 47 years. Because you have to look at the timeline of Joe Biden. You say, okay, the guy gets elected to the Senate in 1973, Senate, Vice President, then he's out and he's running for office. But now he's going to change everything. Now, he just needed 46 years head start, and now, starting in this 47th year, now he's going to change everything. Trump made another good point when Biden was hitting him on the tax code. He said, Joe, you wrote the tax bill. You're the one who gave me these tax advantages. So that was a good zinger. I think you can break that out. You're going to see some T-shirts of I've done more in 47 months than you've done in 47 years. And then I thought the best hit, it was the closest thing that Trump got to a clean hit of the night. It wasn't a major hit, but it could be somewhat useful, is Joe Biden was talking about how cops like him so much. And Trump said, name one law enforcement agency that supports you.
He has no law enforcement
That's not
support.
true.
Almost
That's
nothing.
Look.
Oh, really? Who do you have? Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you. Go ahead. Think. We have time.
We don't have time to do anything.
No, think
All
about
right.
it. Name one law enforcement group that came out and supported you.
Gentlemen, I think I'm going to take back the moderator's role, and I want to get to another subject, which is the issue of protests in many cities that have turned violent.
Gentlemen, I have to interject here because the president just landed a brutal blow on Joe Biden. So we cannot, Mr. Biden, don't answer that. I'll step in. You obviously can't step in, but I'll step in. I'm Chris Wallace, the moderator. Yeah, he's just trying to moderate all of the attacks. He's trying to temper all of the attacks that Trump landed on Joe Biden. So Trump landed some blows. Okay. Joe Biden also landed some, I wouldn't say he landed blows. He just landed insults. They were both insulting one another. I felt Trump got cleaner hits in against Joe Biden. Joe Biden, for all the talk we hear of civility and the soul of America and how Donald Trump is taking down the tone of our public discourse, Joe Biden was much nastier and more childish than Donald Trump. Much. It wasn't even close. Joe Biden said things that were shameful, downright shameful, to say to the president of the United States. Called him a clown, yelled at him to shut up, and called him the classic insult. It means any type of bad person. Called him a racist.
You agreed with Bernie Sanders on a plan.
Folks,
absolutely
folks, do you have any idea what this clown's doing?
They call it
do you have any idea?
Socialized medicine.
Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, vote now.
You're going to pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know you're a senator. I'm not going to answer the question
Why would you answer that
because
question?
the question is,
Justice, radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe? Who's on your list?
Right. Gentlemen, I think
this
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the court.
We have
not going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe.
They sure
47
do.
years you've done nothing. They understand.
All right.
They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place. It's a racist place. And they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Vice President Biden?
Nobody's doing that. He's the racist.
You just don't know.
Here's the deal. I know a lot more about this than you do.
Let him finish.
So unpresidential. I'm not going to defend Trump's badgering the whole night, though I do have a point on Trump's badgering generally. I felt it was ineffective because he did it too much, but generally, we will get to that. Who was more or less presidential here? Trump was much more presidential. And I get it that the badgering is sort of tedious. I get it. It is unacceptable, childish, stupid, disrespectful, rude, wrong to tell the President of the United States to shut up. I find the phrase shut up to be one of the rudest phrases you can utter. You have to do it very selectively. One time when Ronald Reagan was being shouted down by a whole horde of these awful anti-American hippies, he famously told me, he goes, "Oh, shut up." You know, he's like sort of half joking. And that was an effective use of that term. When you use that term just in normal conversation, it's incredibly rude. You could instead use a much more vile, vulgar sort of word, and it would be less rude than that. Call him a clown, the President of the United States a clown, and then to say he's a racist. I just don't, that phrase, maybe at some point it had some meaning. It certainly doesn't anymore. George Orwell in Politics in the English Language said that the term fascist now has no meaning. It just means something that is not desirable, something that I don't like. Well, the same is true of racist. It doesn't matter. Even if somebody has racial bigotry, racial prejudices, the term doesn't matter. The term, even if you walked up to David Duke, you walked up to the head of the Ku Klux Klan, and you said, "You're a racist," the phrase itself has been deprived of meaning because of people like Joe Biden. Because he says, I can't, well, man, I lost my train of thought, and I can't, gosh, Trump's off-footing me with the badge. You're a racist. You're a racist. It was pathetic. It's totally pathetic. Then, at certain moments, Joe Biden actually, beyond the petty insults, actually seemed to undermine his own arguments. So when they were sniping at each other over the lockdowns, Joe Biden seemed to come out against the lockdowns.
I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that job.
I know how to do the job. I know how to get the job
Well, you
done.
didn't do very well in swine flu. H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was no economic recession.
Sir, you made a
there
was no recession.
You made a point. Let him answer.
And there was we didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he shut down.
What? First of all, this is why the attack on H1N1, I see why Trump launched it, but because the two diseases are so incomparable, and then he tried to make that point later, right? He said it was much less lethal, but because they're so he left himself open to that counterattack. But I didn't expect Joe's counterattack to say, well, we didn't shut down the economy for H1N1. Joe, it's you guys who are trying to shut down the economy now. Trump wants to open the economy, and just 5 seconds ago you were demagoguing the issue and saying Trump's killing people because he won't shut down the economy. So what is it? Do the Democrats want to shut down the economy, or do they want to open up the economy? Right now it's only the Democratic governors, practically, who are trying to keep it shut down, right? Gavin Newsom, the mayor, Eric Garcetti in Los Angeles, Andrew Cuomo, governor in New York, Bill de Blasio, mayor in New York. It's all the Democrats who want to shut it down. But Joe, this is the trouble with being a cynical, empty soup politician. He doesn't have any beliefs. It's not just that he's lying. It's that he has no regard for the truth. So he says, okay, now it's good to hit him for the lockdowns. And it doesn't even occur to him, like, wait a second, but we were the ones pushing the lockdowns on him. Our argument, I just undercut our argument. That doesn't matter. And I think for a lot of his partisans, it probably won't matter much either. And then the most ridiculous thing Biden said all night, beyond the petty insults, which you kind of expect. He was asked to condemn Antifa, and he held the party line. He said Antifa doesn't exist.
Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing. This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacist. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got to be
not
kidding.
malicious. That's what his FBI. His FBI director said.
Well, then you know what?
No, we're done, sir.
We're done, Mr. Trump. You can't, please don't respond to that, because that statement that Joe made was so obviously indefensible that please don't respond. We got to move on. New segment. It's the sacred news segment. Antifa's an idea, not an organization. Antifa may be an idea, but it's an idea that has gotten into people's heads, and those people wear uniforms and they wave a flag and they march and organize together. That is an organization. You could say this. You could say, look, fascism is an idea. It's not an organization, which is true. But in Mussolini's Italy, that idea was embodied by people who wore black shirts and committed violence in the streets. Nazism is an idea. It's not an organization. Sure, it is an idea. It was embodied by people who wore brown shirts and worked for Adolf Hitler in Germany. Right? Well, communism is an idea. It's not an organization. Sure, but it manifests in organizations. And Antifa has a real organization right now. Coincidentally, members of Antifa are alternately anarchists and communists and all sorts of miscreants and ne'er-do-wells and very bad people. We know that they exist. I can see the videos of them waving their flag. That is the definition of an organization, but they can't cop to it. And so Trump's getting a lot of flack right now because they pulled out the typical card. They say, Trump, do you condemn white supremacists? He goes, sure. Yeah, okay. Yes, I defend white supremacists, or I condemn white supremacists. Who do you want me to condemn? Who do you want me to condemn? And they say the Proud Boys. Okay, yeah, Proud Boys, go away. Okay, yeah, do we do it? But Joe, you're defending Antifa. And Joe says, there's no such thing as Antifa. I hope you enjoyed that short segment from the Michael Knowles Show. Be sure to check out the full episode linked in the description, or download the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.